know that one is. Oh, yeah, it is, right. I'd like to call the city council meeting for June 3rd to order. Secretary, please roll call.
Council President Schilling.
Here.
Councilor Adams.
Here.
Councilor Barrientos.
Here.
Councilor Briggs is excused. Councilor Collins.
Present.
Councilor Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilor Jantz.
Here.
Councilor Shane.
Here.
And Councilor Verdon is excused.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any introductions?
Nope.
Recognitions? Okay. Next on our agenda is public hearing. This is a public hearing for a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. I now declare this public hearing open at 7:02. This is a public hearing on the City of Dallas' supplemental budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. Can we please have a staff report?
Yep, I'll invite our finance director, Cecilia Ward, to come up and give the staff report on the supplemental budget.
Thank you. What page? So this hearing is for a supplemental budget, and it is a hearing as the staff report. It is stated that the budget changes expenditures in any fund more than 10%, that we would hold a public hearing, and also that it would be published in the local newspaper. And so this actual supplemental budget hearing is for 3 of our funds. And the first fund is the Risk Management Fund. And it is increasing the revenues that come in from the general fund to pay for expenditures that went over on what we had budgeted and allocated to the risk management, as we saw increase in property insurance, workers' compensation insurance, and liability insurance. So that's the amendment for the risk management. For the grant funds, we had a couple, that's actually good news. One was for the Mercer Dam fish passage, and then also for police equipment, which was for the body cameras and the car cameras. And then our last fund that was effective was our building fund. And we amended it to show that in August 2023, the city entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the Dallas School District to collect and remit construction excise tax. So we had to show that as a revenue coming in quarterly and then an expenditure going out. And we do pass that along to the school district quarterly. And so those were the changes that came up for the supplemental budget.
Does the council have any questions for the staff?
On the risk management for all of the insurances, are the amounts there in addition to what you budgeted?
No, the amounts that go on the notice to the paper is what it was amended to.
Oh,
Yes.
So that was an increase of $90,000. So the amount that we initially budgeted was, $585,700.
but all of those insurances, what they just came in?
Some came in higher than we anticipated. As Cecilia mentioned, it was the property, the workers' comp, and
And the
the
liability.
liability. So those three insurances came in higher than what we initially budgeted.
And it's not necessarily,
I remember somebody commenting about how high the workman's compensation insurance was and then it even came in higher.
right, actually, and that comment came during our budget.
Right.
For the 24-25 budget. And so that's what happened for this year. It came in a little bit higher, so then we
Understood.
increased it for the new budget.
Now, is it true that the increase in these accounts are not reflected back against the city of Dallas, but in general for the entire company?
On the insurance side, is it just the city of Dallas that's seeing increases in insurance, or is
Oh.
it across the board?
It's across the board. The finance directors and even our personal insurance has gone up too. So yeah, it's just kind of across the board.
This is the subject of Resolution 3527.
It is. Yeah, which we'll hear, you'll be able to consider that resolution later in the meeting.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, hearing none, does anyone wish to comment at this time? Yeah, we'll close public hearing at 7:12. Are there any deliberations on this?
Otherwise, it will come up with a resolution.
That's what it says. We will be presented later at the agenda for the council's consideration. Okay, moving on to public comments. I have one person, Robert Greenway. Please state your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Robert Greenway, 2223 Southeast Academy Street here in Dallas. I want to say a bunch of things today, but I was pleasantly surprised that after 4 months of coming to meetings off and on and asking for some kind of comments or something from the city council, that I actually heard from somebody today, which was a good thing, and I appreciate that. I wish more people had responded to emails and comments and stuff so they could hear my side of things. And the person that called me was very receptive and listened to what I had to say. Whether they believe it or not, is up to them. They can do the research. I told him that everything I told him was based on facts and not conjecture. So we'll see where that goes, and hopefully he maybe pass along some wisdom onto the rest of the council members. And maybe they can follow in their footsteps and respond to public, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, You should be able to have the courage to, this isn't easy for me to do this, but have the courage to get back to the people that you're supposed to be governing. I noticed that not a whole bunch of people come to the meetings. I don't know how many listen, on the YouTube thing or whatever. I'm not into the YouTube things. I don't know if you guys even know how many people listen, but I just want to tell that person that I greatly appreciate it. We talked about one thing that I think would help everybody in the city council and in the people, citizens as a whole, that I've found in most other places and cities that I've dealt with. They had the council people that were assigned areas. In other words, they had a council member that had this section of town, a council member that had this section of town, so they're familiar and they lived in that area, and I think you guys should adopt that, because by having people live in the area that you live in, they know more about the area and the people that live in there, and then you have somebody specific to go to rather than going to everybody and not getting a response. Other than that, what else can I say without going too far off track? Because I was so pleased that I actually got a response from somebody. So I hope he takes it to heart what we talked about and passes us some of the good words on to the other people that didn't have the courage or fortitude to come forth and answer my questions, or even ask questions, or why to say, or even come up with something that I said that wasn't true. If any of you want to bring something up that I have said, send emails and stuff that isn't true, please do it. Otherwise, you have no business being there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody on the telephone? No. I have no other request.
So Mayor, if I can real quick, Ann Hurd asked me to share with council on the record some comments that she emailed me. She is on the road on a train, she said at the time that she sent these comments, to Seattle, returning tonight, but she wouldn't be here today. So from Ann Hurd, 623 Southwest Hader Street, she says, "Greetings, Mayor Wood and the City Council. The hot water pipe replacement has been completed and all the pools are up to temperature. The Lazy River pump will be installed and working by the end of June. The summer pool schedule is returning to pre-COVID hours this summer. It's very exciting. The pool staff has returned to normal thanks to the lifeguard classes run by Gretchen and her staff. Respectfully submitted, Ann Hurd, President of the Friends of the Dallas Aquatic Center."
Nice.
End of her report.
Did you want to talk about that other issue?
Yeah, so I can do that now.
Okay.
Okay, so last month in May, we had a gentleman who came and shared comments regarding chlorine, both smell and odor in the water, or smell and taste in the water. And so our Public Works Director, Gary Marks, engaged with him during that night after he left, and was able to get contact information, understand his concerns, put him in contact with Jake Dyer, our water supervisor. Through conversation and some education, the gentleman was satisfied with the understanding, and thanked staff. And so we feel that concern has been resolved. We do use chemical treatment in our water to make sure it's safe for people to drink. And with that understanding, he felt satisfied. So just reporting back on the concern that was brought up at the last meeting.
Smelling or tasting chlorine anymore, or?
It doesn't mean that he won't ever smell or taste chlorine. We get that complaint pretty irregularly, although it does happen because there is chlorine that's used in water disinfection. And so that can happen from time to time, but it was not a continual problem with this gentleman. It was kind of a circumstance that he had. And but no, it's not something that's regularly occurring at his property.
It's just a one-off.
Yep.
We'll move right along to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is approval of the May 2020 2024 work session meeting minutes and approval of the May 20, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. Do you wish to leave those on the consent agenda or take them off?
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried unanimously. Next are reports or comments from the mayor and city council members. Anybody have anything they want to report on or talk about? Yes,
I do.
okay.
Happy Pride, everybody. So as we gather today, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize and celebrate Pride Month. June is a time dedicated to honoring the vibrant and diverse LGBTQIAA2S+ community here in Dallas. Pride Month is more than just a celebration. It is a reminder, and we need to remember that it's time for us to focus on the progress that the community has made and to also focus on all of the work that we still have ahead of us. It's also about acknowledging the courage of all of those who have gone before and fought for their rights, especially here in Dallas, the rights to be recognized and as well as their strength and resilience, especially for those who continue to face challenges. And despite all of the social media memes, I am actually not wishing anybody a terribly uncomfortable month. Instead, I really hope that everybody uses this time to learn how to be an ally. In fact, recently, our beautiful city has published a lovely Pride page as part of our community celebrations, and I'm hoping that we can include that in our minutes so that it's easy to find. It's pretty easy to find anyway, right off of the community celebrations page. So it's great. Diversity is our strength here in Dallas, and embracing it enriches our entire community. And while I might be the one speaking up tonight, I assure everyone that I am not the only one who is dedicated to making sure that our LGBTQIAA2S+ community feels safe and supported. And the website is just one way that the city is doing that. Sadly, there are still some people in the community that may feel safe or unwelcome, and we all need to work together to change that. So hopefully we'll all use this month individually to attend events, educate ourselves, and engage in really deep conversations that foster understanding and acceptance so that we can continue to build this amazing community where love and acceptance prevail. So thank you and happy Pride. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Carlos?
We're on to, today is June 3rd, and we have a really good holiday coming up, July 4th. Now, I think it's very urgent to be cognizant of what would happen if you discharge fireworks or if you discharge them in a reckless or unprofessional manner. I'd like to kind of beat that drum to be safe, to do things wisely, and to celebrate our birth of our nation or our independence in a very safe way. And hopefully this summer, no one's house gets burnt down or nothing, harmful happens to anyone. So now is the time to get a plan out there.
Here, here.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. And we're putting in our newsletter this week, there'll be some information that goes out to the community as one way the city's sharing information about just safe use of fireworks. So.
Anybody else? I have a question for you. When will the banner be fixed on Main Street?
So, yeah, we put up the community campout banner last week. It hung great, looked good. And then we had some high winds over the weekend that broke a bracket. The banner itself didn't get torn. It did on the corner where the bracket had busted, but it was the bracket that caused the banner to become dislodged from hanging across the street. We're just working on getting the hardware, stronger brackets. And clips that will be able to keep the banner up, that banner and future banners. So we should have that back up by the end of the week.
Okay. Okay, moving right along. Reports from city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. So the first item is the city manager cost of living adjustment, and Emily Gagne, I'll invite her to come up and present on that report.
I had nice cupcakes.
Yeah, really nice, really nice.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. So it's that time of year again where we start talking about cost of living adjustments. Last year in '23, we made an amendment to the city manager's contract so that each year at this time, you decide what cost of living adjustment his salary gets, if any. As I said in the staff report, all our non-represented and union represented employees by contract are getting a 3.8% cost of living adjustment. That's based on the average annual increase of 2023 for the CPI-U Pacific Index, which we use for all of our contracts and salary things.
Question. This is not absolutely dead center on topic, but how do you calculate that percentage for all of the other employees? What's the formula that produces that number?
So the 3.8% is just the CPI-U index that Cecilia gets each year. And so if we can budget for it, that's what we use. Most of our union contracts, we try and do a range based on that CPI.
Yeah, I just wondered where it
Yeah.
came from.
Yes.
So what was the percent of increase for last year, the actual?
So last year, it was a 5% cost of living adjustment, which was under the actual CPI, I believe. I think it was 5.2 last year, but we just rounded it down to 5.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion to accept. There's the recommended motion on that page.
Guess we have to fill in the blank.
I think the appropriate one would be a 3.8.
Agree?
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll do it. I move to approve it. Was it 3.85? Is that the number?
3.8.
3.8. I move to approve a 3.8% cost of living adjustment to the city manager's salary for fiscal 2024-25.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Yes, Carlos.
I'd like to say that the city manager has a very, very good salary, and salary is 334% higher than the average, and 589% higher than the mean salary in the city of Dallas. Cost of living, I want everyone to know it refers to the overall amount of money required to cover necessary expenses to maintain a certain lifestyle and standard. And I believe our city manager has maintained a good lifestyle and standard based on his current salary. And I'd like people to keep that in mind.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the 3.8% cost of living adjustment signify by saying aye.
No,
Those opposed?
no.
Passes by majority.
Did you say yes or no? Okay.
Carlos.
So is
Just one.
2.
6
Kim,
to 1?
what did-
6 to 1. Yeah, 6 to 1
Unless
is
anyone
1.
wants to be recorded voting, anybody else wants to be recorded voting no.
6-1. Did you vote no? You read no or a yes? No. You read yes.
So the
6 to 1.
6 to 1.
6 to 1.
6 to 1. So the second item is on the agenda is the reallocation of ARPA funds for transfer ambulance.
All right, thank you, Mayor Woods. So I'll invite our fire chief, April Wallace, to come up and present on this topic.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. what I am asking is for the allocation of ARPA funding for the purchase of an ambulance specifically dedicated for interfacility hospital transfers. This new hospital, or excuse me, this new ambulance will replace our current ambulance that we have dedicated for interfacility transfers, which is over 20 years old. It's a 2003 International. This request is coming to the City Council because the purchase is in excess of $150,000. I understand that it says the fiscal impact for the ARPA funds is $226,852. What was not included were the additional add-ons that were on the back part of that page, which is an additional $15,325, which would make the total $242,177. And then just to give you a little bit of background, currently from January 1st of 24 to today, we've handled 508 interfacility transfers from West Valley Hospital. Last year, from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st of 2023, we handled 877. We're projected at this point with approximately over 100 transfers per month. We're expected to exceed 1,200 transfers this year, just from West Valley Hospital alone. When you look at our ambulances that we have in service, the mileage is increasing. Our 2023 ambulance already has 39,000 on it. Our 19 has 192,000, and our 2016 has 265,000 miles.
So this is a brand-new ambulance. What are you going to do with the old one?
So the old one will be placed out of service. We'll probably surplus it, or we haven't discussed that. It will not be on our fleet.
Yes, Mike.
I move to authorize the city manager to purchase the new ambulance for inter-facility hospital transfers.
Second.
Move to second. Any more discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This has already been before us before, and we've already basically said that this was one of the areas we're going to fund, and it is a definite need, and it is a use of our capital, what we said the ARPA funds were for, and that's capital projects, and this is one of those capital projects we talked about.
Yes.
I realize this is a moving target, so I'm not trying to pin you down to
That's okay.
a number, but just because it really is something that's changing rapidly. But of the miles that our ambulance fleet accumulates, roughly what fraction of that is accounted, is charged to just these trips we're talking about?
That is a very good question. I could get you the breakdown. I just don't have that in front of me. You can expect that from city center here to city center in Salem is 15 miles. So you're looking at 30 miles round trip. Currently, we're at in excess of almost 3,000 calls right now. So you have to look at the amount that was, I mean, it doesn't seem very large at this point, but once you start getting into the 100 calls per month for interfacility transfers only. So, and that's just from West Valley to Salem. So you would 30 miles per trip.
I'll get with you offline.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Motion's been made, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Anything else from the city manager and staff?
Nope, that's all of our reports.
First reading of ordinances. Ordinance number 1894.
Mayor, this is an ordinance amending Dallas City Code Section 5.102 relating to discharge of weapons. Yep, I'll take this one, Chief Simpson, if that's all right. So Chief Simpson presented this to the admin committee last week, and the topic is that we have an ordinance regulating the discharge of weapons in the city. This is adding exemption language for school events. There's a long tradition of middle school doing a Civil War reenactment where they fire blanks out of old Civil War style guns. And so instead of having us kind of do an exemption by the police department each year, this just codifies exemptions for educational activities or athletic events. You can also have track and field events. There's the starting, pistol. So that also was not previously exempted. Now it is through the change here. So that's what's before you tonight.
So as I understand your explanation and what I read here, what this really is simply taking what we now do procedurally and giving it a more formal underpinning.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Secretary, call the roll. We don't do that?
It's the first reading.
Okay. Stand corrected. Please. No other ordinances, so we'll move on to resolutions. Resolution number 3525.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 3525 is a resolution to levy nuisance assessments against real property in the city of Dallas. So the explanation on this is over the last couple of years, there have been properties where code enforcement has gone out and it's not been able to have the property owner remedy the situation on their own. And, through just non-communication, maybe it's a property owner who's not living in town, but just owns a vacant lot, or maybe a rental property or something. And where the city has then had to go and hire a contractor, perform the work to abate the tall grass or other nuisances on the property. And then once we then assess that charge to the property owners, if the property owner has not paid, then it becomes eligible for a municipal lien. So these are the properties over the last few years that have fallen into that category. It does not include those that we did the work and have paid. So those people are off this list. But this is just people who we have found to be in violation of our code. We've rectified the situation and they have not paid the charges. And so by putting a lien on their property at some point in the future, when that property goes through a transaction, the city will be paid with interest.
And does the interest accrue all the way until
Yes, so the interest starts once municipal lien.
9% for 30 years and then they sell the home?
Yep. Yes, so it's a accruing interest over time.
Okay, Secretary, call the roll, please.
Counselor Collins?
Yes.
Counselor Fitzgerald?
No.
Counselor Jantz?
Yes.
Counselor Shane?
Yes.
Council President Schilling?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Barrientos?
Yes.
6-1.
Motion passes. Next one is resolution number 3526.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 3526 is, if I can get there fast enough, is a resolution authorizing the transfer of budgetary funds.
This is what we talked about.
So this is not the one we talked about earlier. So this is a budget transfer that did not require a supplemental budget. So any transfers that were less than 10% of the balance of that fund. So when we're transferring less than 10%, making a less than 10% change, these are those changes. So Cecilia, I don't know if you want to come up and talk through the different changes on this resolution. Except for correction. Except for correction. Oh, yeah, why don't you come up and talk through this? Yeah, that's a good question.
Can't sit together anymore.
So like Brian said, this is our budget transfer resolution, and this is, it's not necessary to do a supplemental budget and to do a hearing or a publication, as it is below 10%. Now, you might look at this and see, well, those revenues, ARPA revenues are 10%. But that's just moving it from one line item as revenues to another line item. So that's not taking from contingency and reallocating it to an expenditure. So, and as I said in the staff report, that is getting a correction that was recommended by the auditors last year. So we're just trying to fix this budget, that recommendation again for this year. As you can see in the budget report, we just had some additional personnel costs that we had to transfer from contingencies, and also that transfer to risk management for general fund. We had to add some more of that in there. And on professional services for the fire department, we had an additional conflagration expense that we didn't expect. That we actually, it was supposed to be filed for Falls City as a, to be reimbursed to Falls City, but the state actually reimbursed us. And so we had to pay it out to Falls City. So that kind of took the professional services line item over. So we needed to move some more money into that, although we did get it in revenue. So it just had to balance out. And the building fund required some additional costs in personnel services. And there's many things that go to that. It could be a merit increase that we didn't expect. It could be promotions we didn't expect. It could be some employees accrue a lot of leave time, so they're able to cash out vacation time. And so there's some things that go into that increase in personnel costs. And actually, Gary Marks asked for a few budget amendments to his public works funds. The operating contingencies for $60,000 for the street. He said that we are going to be doing some extra work for the county on Ash Street, and they'll be reimbursing us. So we just needed to put that in the expenditure so we could pay for it, but we will be reimbursed for it. And also the water fund needed some extra funds in the professional services and fleet management. We needed some more funds in the intergovernmental agreements, which is, I guess, a good thing. It was to pay for parts and service for those additional intergovernmental agreements that we are getting in. So that's kind of a good thing. And then we had a pretty, this was also a recommendation by the auditors. We needed to move the transfer to long-term debt to pay for the PERS bonds. We were having them transfer out of fringe benefits. And the auditor said, no, we need to move them out of a specific transfer line item. But that hits all the departments in the general fund, and it hits all the other funds that pay for personnel. So that's the big chart here in the staff report. And so that should take care of all our budget amendments for this fiscal year.
And so again, Cecilia, with the long-term debt transfer, because it's not reappropriating contingency money for an expense, but just transferring money from one expense line to another, even though it exceeds the 10%, it's not a supplemental budget item.
Right, because we're moving it just from fringe benefits to a transfer line item. And so it's just balancing out. It's just moving one to another.
It's basically accounting.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you.
This is resolution number 3527. Have the secretary call the roll.
This is 3526.
Okay.
Counselor Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Counselor Jantz,
Yes.
Counselor Shane,
Yes.
Council President Schilling,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Barrientos,
Yes.
Counselor Collins,
Yes.
passed 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Next is resolution 3527.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 3527 is a resolution adopting and appropriating a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. And this is the items of the three items that were discussed during the public hearing.
Any more discussions, questions? Have a secretary call the roll, please.
Counselor Jantz,
Yes.
Counselor Shane,
Yes.
Council President Schilling,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Barrientos,
Yes.
Counselor Collins,
Yes.
Counselor Fitzgerald,
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, motion passes. Next is resolution number 3528.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. This is a resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Sewer System Development Fund to the Fleet Management Fund for the Public Works Building Project. And so the gist of this interfund loan resolution is to kind of set a lower interest rate. Our standard interest rate, Cecilia, for interfund loans is higher. What's that normally?
Well, it's whatever we're receiving as an interest on the local government investment pool. And so right now, that's pretty high, it's at 5.4%.
Yeah. So again, our practice is to just go with what we get from the local government investment pool. Currently, it's 5.4%. Fleet management isn't the most, it's not flush with cash, that fund. So, and because we're just paying interest back to ourselves, we felt that a lower interest rate was appropriate. So we're applying a 2.5% interest rate with this interfund loan. Again, this loan is for the Public Works Building Project from Fleet Management. Any questions on that?
Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
Counselor Shane?
Yes.
Council President Schilling?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Barrientos?
Yes.
Counselor Collins?
Yes.
Counselor Fitzgerald? Counselor Jantz?
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Okay. Any other business? I will adjourn the city council meeting and open up the URDAC meeting. You can apply the roll call to the same. Okay. Approve minutes of May 20th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any more discussion? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carries unanimously. Next thing is the Building Improvement Grant Program.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. I'll have our Economic and Community Development Director, Charlie Mitchell, come and give the staff report.
Thanks, Brian. Good evening, members of the agency board. So what you have in front of you is same thing we brought to you at your last meeting with some revisions based on input that we received at the last meeting regarding some revisions to the guidelines of the Building Improvement Grant Program. The changes were done kind of collaboratively between myself and the city attorney. The changes are on page 2 of the program of attachment A, under non-eligible activities, section 3. So that whole section right there has been reworded, as has item 6 under grant requirements on the following page has also been rewritten. Again, these were both rewritten to further sort of clarify and define, based on the input that we received from you guys all back on May 20th, of occupancy, business occupancy, and the things you did and didn't want to see in those buildings if they were going to receive a grant. So I think Lane did his best to try to capture the language that and the intent of what was said at that meeting. And so I would encourage you to kind of look that over, make sure that that falls in line with what you meant it to be. And if not, we can make more changes. And Lane and I kind of picked out the same outfit tonight. Not intentionally, yeah.
You have a secret handshake too?
If I can, really, the magic words are materially contribute to the economic vitality of the district. Last time we had this, the focus was on whether it was occupied, how it was occupied, what it was being used for. That seemed to be kind of squishy in terms of how to apply that. So materially contribute to the economic vitality of the district would be a finding made by the program manager. And we do indicate that an example of that would be a vacant space. Space is used primarily for passive storage of personal property, and space is used primarily for fulfillment of off-site sales. But there could be other things that uses that just don't contribute to the economic vitality of the district, which is what the urban renewal district is all about. So that's the criteria that the change is focused on.
Right, and arguably that's a subjective term, but we can place the burden of proof on the applicant in the application process.
Question, David?
Yeah, I like this change, but, you know, we went around on this last time, and trying to micro-tune this to specific uses and time, and that would have gotten just horrible. So this says what we want to happen and allows some judgment as to, and like you say, we can put the burden of proof on the applicant. So yeah, this feels like a good way to get our arms around it.
And if I can, the other last time too, the grant said that if the grant wasn't used, I can't remember what the language was, if the building wasn't occupied, then we would recover the grant. Here, instead of that, we're putting a timeline to implement this plan. If you're making a loan or a grant to a space that is not being used for economic purpose, they have 1 year to implement an economic purpose, and if you don't, then the grant should just be made. So we're not bothered with having to try to collect money back.
That's a good change too.
Any other questions, comments? Well, what do we
I
need?
have a question.
Sure.
Sorry, Charlie, has this already been run by the,
This latest change has not been run by the ERDAC because they did not have a meeting between your last meeting and this meeting, so no, yeah. They have a meeting tomorrow, and I will inform them of your decision tonight.
David?
Move to approve the Urban Renewal District Advisory Committee's recommendation and city attorney's revision and direct staff to modify the building improvement grant program criteria as reflected in attachment A.
Is there a second?
second.
Motion is made and second. Any more discussion?
I have a quick question. Charlie, with your experience serving with ERDAC, do you feel that the changes that have been made are something that they would be concerned with?
And yeah, I sympathize with where you're going. I was thinking that as well. I think materially, you're going in the same direction that they're going in. The mayor sits on that body as well, so I don't know if you had any thoughts on,
No, I think this is in general what they would probably agree to.
yeah, I don't anticipate any issues with that. So I think we're okay. And again, I will convey that to them tomorrow with whatever your decision is.
This is way better than what we had.
What would happen if we didn't vote tonight and we gave the ERDAC an opportunity to look at this, run it through them?
We could just delay it by 2 weeks.
But what happens?
Well, what will happen is we as staff were planning to start promoting the program to begin accepting applications probably tomorrow. We would delay that announcement by 2 weeks at least.
They have a meeting when,
Tomorrow,
and we meet again when?
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks, that's why you said 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
It just delays it a couple of weeks and
I think my little heart feels better, let it, that, I don't know.
Lane, since we have a motion on the floor, how do we do that?
Somebody moves table, or else the person who made the motion withdraw.
Sorry, David.
I'll withdraw.
Who's the second?
I'll withdraw.
You just direct staff to bring it back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Is that what you want to do? Want us to come back 2 weeks?
You guys can overrule me.
We can't have you crying.
Either way, we'll get this done before the end of the fiscal year. It's not a big deal.
Right.
I mean,
True.
it really isn't. So
Yeah,
the 2 weeks is fine.
I think one of the reasons, and I'm not advocating either way, but one of the reasons Brian and I wanted to kind of get this done expeditiously is we're anticipating a longer meeting for the council at your next council meeting because of the budget. Is that right? And some
You have
other
the budget,
things.
and you have at least one land use hearing on the 17th. There could be two if there's an appeal. So you're going to have a longer meeting on the 17th. So one of the reasons of putting this before you today is just to get it done so you don't have to have this meeting.
Right, because
on the
if we
17th.
have
You're
this,
also
we,
going to have a budget meeting for the ERDAC. You're going to have a budget meeting for the city. You're going to have at least one land use hearing. So I know we've blessed you with short meetings in the last couple of months. The 17th is not going to be a short meeting.
My concern is that we have this body of people who whose job it is to give us their opinion, and we're gonna say, oh, we've made the decision. We've taken your general idea, and we've come up with our own words, because we think we know what you want, and we're gonna decide and vote, but without even giving you the right to look at it, because we think we know. That's my concern, but maybe I'm being a drama queen.
No, I don't think you are.
No, I don't think you're being a drama queen, and I think it's good to, you have advisory committees for a purpose. At the end of the day, though, that's a reminder is that they're advisory to you. And so it's not what they want as much as it's what you want. And, they've given you a program with revisions. You took their advice and modified it with what you have today. So it's fine to send it back to them to say, hey, we want to make this modification to what you gave us. Are you okay with that? I would expect them to be okay with that. And then it would just come right back to you, probably unchanged, be my guess.
That'd be my guess as well. Yeah, I don't see the change as substantive. I see it as a refinement of the verbiage that was there previously. It makes it more clear and defined, in my opinion.
But notwithstanding, I understand your concern. And it's fine to take it to them, or
Sure.
it's fine to just.
We can do it either way.
Yeah.
Different.
We need somebody who's owned a business downtown to make that decision.
Okay, if you're gonna getting the money out sooner for businesses downtown would be a higher priority, I would assume. So I can argue that side.
Yeah, but we're talking a matter of a few days here.
Yeah, you're talking 2 weeks.
It's really not, I think the biggest impact is just going to be you're going to have a longer meeting in 2 weeks. I think honestly, that's probably the biggest impact.
It's the biggest impact for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, look, Charlie, you and the mayor, you both go to those meetings. What's your feeling about where the URDAC people feel about this right now? Are they, is this a big deal, or is this tempest in the teapot?
It has, this issue has come up. The issue that we've further defined here, I can't ascertain exactly how strongly or passionately as a body they feel about it.
There are a couple of people on that board that actually have a business downtown.
Right.
So they're trying to protect themselves. This really doesn't have any effect in what we've talked about.
I was thinking more along the lines of how to put this as tactfully as possible. We have volunteers for a reason, and they need to feel that they're being listened to. And that's really what I was sort of getting at in terms of this particular group of volunteers.
Yeah. So if I can, Micah, if I can put you on the spot, did you want to talk about your thing, or do you want to sit on that for a little bit more? Okay, because given David's thought, I think that's an opportunity to engage with them. So I don't know if, do you want to talk about that?
No, Brian and I were talking, and I thought that this program would support this program, but I thought that with our goals and some of the comments that have been made in the past about the later evening stuff in the city, within the downtown, be able to promote that, either maybe starting a program or connecting the program to this that incentivizes like restaurants and those specific, I know you had mentioned specific in the changes, but having a program that incentivizes restaurants and things that would be open later in the evening to get to those goals that we're always.
So I believe that I love the idea, I love the concept that Micah came up with, and I think that is one that if this agency wants to give some work to the Urban Rural District Advisory Committee, that could be a work product that you could give them. If you want to give them something, and maybe not necessarily kick this back to them for just a simple, hey, are you okay with this change? But give them something to, to kind of chew on and have some, let their creative juices flow about how do we come up with a program that incentivizes, restaurant businesses or, activity type businesses that go, into the evening time, whatever that is. So if you want, you could refer that item to them and consider this item tonight.
Also have a comment on what we were just talking about with the executive. Isn't the things we changed, isn't that towards how we decide, this body decides who gets the money and the applicants, and not, because they brought the program to us, but it's not, the this is?
Yeah, so this body is the one that decides on the grant awards for the program that's before you tonight. So, yep,
The changes that we're making are how we decide that and not the.
correct. Yeah, so that could be an opportunity, you know, Counselor Shane, as you mentioned, to, you know, have this body feel engaged in doing the work that we're doing. I love the idea that Counselor Jantz came up with, and I think that that could be something that you could, you know, give to the agent or the committee to work on.
Without affecting this.
Without affecting the timing of this. You could say, hey, thank you for what you gave us. We, you know, made a small refinement using our city attorney and staff. We adopted that program, but now we have a new program, a new concept we want you to develop and work on.
I guess just to close the loop entirely, adopting this now doesn't preclude making further changes to it in the future.
That's correct.
No, and we've, in the 3 years that I've been here, we've changed this around several times, so it's a fluid document.
How do I go about reinstating my motion?
I'll withdraw my.
Still on the floor, you can make it, I mean, it's still open, you can make a new motion.
Yeah, there's no motion on the floor.
There is or there is not?
There is not. There's no motion.
Okay, let me do it again. Once more, I move to approve the Urban Renewal District Advisory Committee's recommendation and city attorney's revision and direct staff to modify the building improvement grant program criteria as reflected in attachment A.
So the question I would have, that David said this is a recommendation from ERDAC, but it's not.
Well,
It's
you've amended the recommendation.
Yeah, the motion included ERDAC's recommendation and the city attorney's revision. So it includes both.
Right.
I would say, 90+% of the revisions you are accepting as they were recommended by the ERDAC. Another 5% or whatever you've altered.
Well, I guess I would just put in, the recommendation came from the advisory committee. And it didn't.
It did.
It did.
Well, it did. You modified it.
And
Yeah,
that's recognized in the motion.
and there are a lot of revisions that the ERDAC made that are untouched by the city attorney's revision.
Right.
The city attorney just revised 2 segments of 10 that ERDAC recommends.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carries unanimously.
So just to close the final loop, do we want to send the topic of a new program incentivizing restaurants and nighttime businesses to the ERDAC?
Perfect task for
It's
them.
a great,
Okay,
Perfect task for them.
so Charlie, you can introduce that concept tomorrow night, and then won't be on, yeah, it's not on the agenda, but you can introduce that they have work coming.
Anything else for the good of the order? I want to thank Emily for her cupcakes.